On this episode of the Leader Wrestle Zone, we're going to do a review on this week's Wednesday Night War. We're going to talk about what happened from start to finish from both shows and surprises that happened, and something that I did not expect, but I like it. So let's get started with the Leader Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody. This is J Rod here on Deleted Wrestle Zone. So hope everybody's staying safe. Wash your hands. I know that things have been not the same, but AEW and WWE have been looking for ways to go around the situation with the restrictions. You know, since certain cities around the country have been on lockdown, featuring Orlando. Uh, I'm here in New York, and here where I'm from in California. But of course, there's always a great way to watch wrestling, even if it's not live or with audience, but it's very interesting. So let's get to the ratings right now with the ratings and views on both shows. Now, for this week's winner for this week's Wednesday Night War, surprise, surprise, as always, AEW went with 819,000 votes with the rate of 0.34. Now, last week, the views were around 932, so it's still maybe like somewhere 100 plus or so. And so they had like 932, I think. Yeah, 932, but which is okay. You know, it's still good. And as for NXT, they had 669,000 views with the rate of 0.20. Now, some of you hardcore fans are questioning, how is that even possible? Is this fixed up? Is this a work? Who knows? Now, some of you probably, does it matter? Well, to be honest with you, I don't think it matters. If it depends on how you feel. The reason I do this is because I want this to come out, because I don't know for sure if there's going to be any changes. I know, if you recall, months ago, Vince has called NXT an extreme failure because they were unable to beat um, AEW, and they haven't done this since late last year, and that's what happened. But it is what it is. But I am gonna say both shows were great. I loved the matches they had, some of the stories they were going with. But I have to say the whole thing with AEW going improvisation, try to change up a few things. But yeah, so let's get started with the winners of this week's Wednesday Night War, AEW. Now, I must make a note on here for this past AEW Dynamite. The commentary was changed a little bit, so there was no JR, no Tony Schiavone or Taz. Only no wait, Tony Schiavone was there, but no Excalibur. So Tony Schiavone was doing commentary, but alongside with him, we had the EVPs, both Cody and Kenny Omega. But they both were scheduled in the match. It was interesting. Like, they get to leave and do their do their matches. Was really interesting. This took place at Daly's place. Now, I'm not sure how long they're going to be doing this because of the restrictions. How certain areas of Florida is being on lockdown. We do know Orlando's on lockdown. So, but also note, if you recall last week, we did had on the ringside, people were out there, especially the wrestlers who either were wrestling or already wrestled dark. Those who were not booked for wrestle, but they were there, and we had one side with the heels, one side with the faces. But this time they did not have that. They were in some kind of trailer, and Sean Spears was still doing that whole taking bets who would win the matches. There was another guy there. I'm not sure who it was, but I did saw not only him and this other dude. There was the Guns, and And surprise, surprise, I did see Jericho there. I did see QT Marshall, but the one person that surprised me the most was Daja Fuentes. And she has, if you all recall, she has great personality because this was something that was missing when she was in WWE as Daja Gonzalez. But I love how she was portraying every match, how it was happening, especially the Kenny Omega versus Sammy, which I'm going to explain later because we're going to go from start to finish on AEW Dynamite. So let's get started with the first match. We had Cody versus Jimmy Havoc. Now, this was an interesting match because we do see certain dynamics between the two wrestlers. We do know Cody how it wrestles. We do know Jimmy Havoc, but it was great. I mean, because the thing is, it's kind of like if you see this in your mind, it's kind of like the same thing what we see with the early phases of UFC, where each fighter came from different backgrounds. Like we we got one guy with the boxing, one guy jiu-jitsu, one guy karate, one guy kung fu, that type of thing. Um, but there was a moment that Jimmy Havoc shake hands with Cody. That was very unlike him because we know the kind of person Havoc could be, and you guys know it too. But there were some great moments. There was one where he actually landed on the ramp area. Look, Jimmy Havoc. It was like he was enduring pain. But the winner for this one was, of course, Cody. I always suspect Cody was gonna win. Come on, he's like playing the good guy here, you know. Now, at post match, he gets a little video message with Jake the Snake Roberts. Now, as you all recall, he's calling Cody Caesar because he's expecting him to make a phone call, like he really wants Cody to face Lance Archer. But um, right after the whole message was sent, he did state that he felt that Lance Archer hasn't shown anything. Like it's not like he's not interested. Like he's like trying to say, I haven't seen you wrestle anybody there, but you immediately just want to wrestle me now. But he said he can make it happen. So the question is when that's gonna happen. Like I said, there's still no sure if we're gonna have a Dynamite the upcoming week due to the restrictions that have been happening. Then we see a little cryptic message from Darby Allen that he sent to Kip Sabian. He says, "What makes you super bad?" You know, he does right. What does make him super bad? Then we jump in with the match between Kip Sabian alongside Penelope Ford, and here comes Darby. Now, this was an interesting match because they're both are the same type of build up with the junior heavyweight division. You know what I mean? And of course, there were some moments that what's his name? Darby had more of the momentum, and then you had Kip. But of course, we have Penelope try to help out. But we did not see no cop and drop. But he did a move that I think Tony Schiavone, oh no, Cody, he said he called it the Last Supper, where he kind of like grabbed the leg and tried to put him down. Not in submission, but more like try to keep his shoulders from getting up. I never seen a move like that. But of course, Cody's calling it the Last Supper, which is an interesting name. I'm not gonna lie because I mean, who remembers Naito when he does that one move where he goes to the corner, he kicks someone, then he sweeps them, and then he jumps over and bam, right in the turnbuckle. And Rocky calls it El Combinación de Cabrón. So, so that's what I like about that match. But it was good. Darby won the match by using that move. Then we see a video promo of Hagar, who is currently undefeated both in MMA and AEW. So it jumped in with the match, which we like to call in the wrestling world a squash match against Chico Adams. I don't know who it is. Now this brought me back to the heydays of the WWF when they were hiring jobbers, putting wrestlers against other people, that other famous wrestlers, like Bret Hart, all of that. But yeah, that kind of remind me of that. But when Hagar won, which was easy, out of nowhere, here comes the unscripted violence, the violent purveyor himself, John Moxley, and he told them he'll be lurking around, and he wasn't joking. But Hagar walked away like he had no piece of him at all. But Hagar, or no, Moxley stated in the backstage that he said he's willing to put the title on the line for on Hagar in order to get a piece of him. Now, I don't know how Jericho will feel about that because I know for a fact he will want the title back, but you gotta look into the psychology way. Jericho will love nothing more than see that title back to the inner circle where it belonged. So that's always been like that, the way I would see it. I don't know if you guys can see it that way, but we'll see how it goes. We do see another promo video of Brody Lee, like he's saying he's here, but they showed a little clip. Was interesting. Now this was mentioned today that this was a shot at Vince McMahon. Now I'm not sure if that's true or not, but the scene was Brody was having a steak, and you see John Silver and Alex Reynolds were right there, and they were not allowed to eat after Brody Lee eats. So basically, Brody Lee was saying they had nothing to show for. They haven't showed their true potential, that type of thing. So basically, it was more like, how do I say this? He was still asking more of them, due to the fact that they need to be the most dominant force within AEW. But at some point, John Silver attempted to eat a steak, even though he was instructed not to. But he ate but Brody kicked him out of the room. Alex Reynolds tried to play by Brody's rules. He did one error. He sneezed, and he told him to leave. So I don't know exactly if this was a shot at Vince McMahon or a mockery. I can't say. I mean, I don't know if Vince ever did something like this. I can't recall. But if you guys do know anything like that Vince did something similar, leave a comment down below because I really need to know if it really is. But if you guys think it was a shot, I'd like to hear your opinions. So it goes when. Hold on. Yes. Okay, then we have, of course, we jump in with Brody still. He goes in the match against one half of the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall. Now, Dustin wasn't there. Brady was there, but she was doing ring announcing. Um, I don't know what happened with Justin Roberts, but as we all know, none of them were come because of this whole thing. But it did show the dominance with Broly Lee. We don't know what's gonna happen, so he won that match, which is like trying to spread more. Okay, who's Brody Lee? What is he here for? That type of thing. That kind of shows who is this leader who's leading the Dark Order, and I'm sure they're gonna do more of his dominance. We just gotta wait and see. Then we have a recap with the debut of Matt Hardy. Come on. I still talk about it, even with my best friend, which is good. Now, if you all recall 2 weeks ago, um, the Inner Circle took out Nick Jackson, kind of stopped the plans of the Bloods and Guts event, which was supposed to be 5-on-5, but we do know Matt Hardy is taking his place. So they get a little update from the friendly neighborhood Vanguard one. He goes to Nick's house. He sees him working out. He gave his little analysis and showed he's about 61 something percent, something like that. And of course, you see Nick sees Vanguard and he just takes off, which was interesting because I was like, thought it was very original. Then we jump in with the main event, which was Kenny Omega versus Sammy Guevara, but this time Kenny put his AAA Mega Championship on the line. Now I know what you guys thinking. Isn't this supposed to be a Triple H title? They're in alliance right now, but we haven't seen any wrestlers coming except for the Lucha Brothers. But recently, we do know that AAA had to cancel a lot of their events Recently, Kenny Omega was supposed to put the title on the line in Rey de Reyes, which is King of Kings pay per view event down there. So that was canceled. So we don't know when he'll put that title on the line down there in Mexico. So this match was really one of my favorite ones for the night. Um, there was, instead of having people recall everybody's in the back, there's like paper of people's pictures. So you see one that looks more like Jericho, and then one that looks like a Star Trek now. Didn't look like Captain Picard of no Captain Kirk of William Shatner. So they were going, it's not Cisco. Tony Schiavone goes, I like Cisco. He's my favorite. He was commander before he was captain. So basically it was a debate on that. Of course, much of the momentum was going to Sammy. Of course, he knew where to attack Kenny's weakness, which is good psychology. He was attacking his injured hand. But there was a moment that was crazy where there was a picture of Brandy right there, and he pulled it out and started making out. You see Brandy giving that look like, what the hell is wrong with you? And of course, there were moments with V triggers, knees to the top, and one of my favorite moments is Sammy was biting his hand, but Kenny gave him a V trigger. And there was another moment where Kenny did this thing with him, and then Sammy gets up and gives him the middle finger. Wrong answer, of course. V triggered and put him on the One Wing Angel, having Kenny retain his AAA Mega Championship, or as he likes to call it, the Omega Championship. So that was the end of the every wrestling match they had. So we go to the confrontation between Jericho and Hardy. Now, the funny part is Jericho comes out. He has no one to sing those songs. So basically, he had this camera guy singing. And Aubrey Edwards said something on Twitter. You probably saw it. He said, at least he's more better than Sammy. I'm like, oh, that is cold right there. So anyway, while Chris was waiting for um, Hardy to show up, here comes Vanguard 1. So he was asking Vanguard to join the inner circle, saying that he could put a little bit of the bubbly in his battery or whatever, and this and that. And here comes Matt Hardy. Now, this is where a lot of the effects comes in, or editing, as Nico would call it, or whatever he calls it. But you see him in this one area. He's over here, over here, over here, kind of like magic, because he did stated that there's more to the new, the thing, the entity inside him, Damascus. So we don't know more, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now it starts out with Jericho saying that Hardy made the biggest mistake or error aligning himself with the elite, because he looks at them as a bunch of pussies and all this other stuff, that he should have talked to him first. He said that the inner circle would have given him everything that he ever wanted. But Matt Hardy responded he owed the Bucks of Youth a favor. If you all recall the Free the Delete episode, the Bucks buried him alive to ensure Zenith comes out. So that's the reason he aligned with it. But he did state it. His name is Damascus. He's been around for 3,000 years, and he's seen the ghost of people there, like Abraham Lincoln and all this other people, like Martin Luther King. I thought it was genius how he was portraying this character, and I enjoyed it. And but he did state it. He's not here to join the inner circle. He's here to save AEW from the inner circle, because he calls it paradise. And he doesn't appreciate Jericho and his inner circle destroying what it is, paradise. Because Jericho claimed AEW started because of him, that he's the reason AEW it is what it is. But Jericho was not taking lightly, and of course, you do see the lead that he's joining the elite regardless. So Matt punched him, and that was kind of interesting. And then all of a sudden, I think Jericho knew that if Hardy wasn't going to join him, then he'll beat him up. And when that happened, Sammy attacked him from behind. And of course, you do see Cody and Kenny coming out for the rescue because they are teaming for the Bloods and Guts event that's taking place once the whole thing with the pandemic is over. But the best part is Jericho was leaving, but he still wanted a piece more of Matt Hardy. But all of a sudden, the pyro were going up when he was doing this or this, controlling everything. And I thought that was like something out of a how to say something out of a movie. But it was great. I like how they were going with it. But I enjoyed it. I think I know it's a little difficult with the whole thing with no audience being there, but we just got to wait and see what kind of stories are going to go with it uh, for next week because we do know they're trying to improvise as much because that's what they've been doing the entire time ever since the whole thing with the pandemic started. So I think that's it right now for AEW. What's going to happen? I don't think they mention anything for next week, but I will keep tabs see because we still don't know yet if they're still able to do some shows at the Daily's place due to the restrictions. But we just gotta wait and see. But let's continue on with NXT. So let's go with NXT. It started out with showing clips between the rivalry between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Escalated badly, and if you all recall, 2 weeks ago, Tommaso Ciampa put Johnny Gargano through a table when he jumped off and landed on the commentary table. And of course, Johnny Gargano hasn't forgotten what happened. And Triple H was coming to address this situation with the rivalry between both Ciampa and Gargano. And well, that's until the end. So, like I said, the start from start to finish. And the next thing they announced, it has been confirmed for a while now that NXT Takeover Tampa is not going to happen, but it will be aired on the USA Network. So we just gotta wait and see where they're gonna go with it. But I'm excited. Um, the first match happened was Austin Theory versus Tyler Breeze. Now they're saying that during the Performance Center, Austin Theory disrespected Tyler Breeze and calling him he's old, that he's no longer how to say useful anymore. But what Theory did when he came out to the ring, he had a cell phone doing his little selfie thing, which that is something that Tyler Breeze would do. And here comes Tyler Breeze. As always, not much of the match has been dominant by Austin Theory. He was throwing every move, countering everything that um, Tyler Breeze was throwing at him. And one mistake that Theory did, he pulled out his cockiness. He pulled out his phone. Instead of trying to finish off Tyler Breeze, he decided to pull out his phone and try to video the whole thing. And because of that, Tyler Breeze took him out his finisher move, and that was gonna cost him. I mean, I don't recall Tyler Breeze doing that during his matches, but that gave Tyler Breeze the window of opportunity to recover and ensure that he picks up the victory. But once it was over, Breeze gets Theory's phone and selfie himself. Why not? So, but I don't know if this is the end between the two, but I do see a good rivalry between the two. Then we had Killian Dane versus another guy named Tahito Miles. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm just gonna skip ahead. Who's gonna win? Killian Dane. Of course, we all know he was gonna win. The next match was Cameron Grimes versus Tony Nese. Now, I wasn't sure too much who was going to win, but there were some great moments from Tony Nese. I thought he could pick up the victory, but sadly he didn't. It was Cameron Grimes who picked up the victory, so that's how it's going to go with him. Now, the next match, it started out, it was supposed to be Aaliyah who makes her return after she got her nose broken in the hands of Xia Li. Now, we can say it was an accident during the match. Now, this was supposed to be a qualifying match for the number one's contender ladder match that's going to take place. And Aaliyah was supposed to face Xia Li. Now, once Xia Li's music was being played, she was nowhere to be found. They found her crying with her knee hurt, like she still doesn't know who did it. We all know who did. It was Aaliyah for two reasons. One, payback for her breaking her nose, and two, try to take the opportunity taking the shortcuts. Now, as soon as the announcer was told that Lee was not medically cleared, Aaliyah thought automatically she wins. But we know General Manager Regal, he doesn't play that game. So instead, he picked her replacement. And this is one person that not even Aaliyah predicted. And it turned out to be the genius of the sky, Io Shirai. Now, the reaction from Aaliyah was so impressive. Like she was like she knows she doesn't have a chance against Io Shirai. She knows it. So basically, she had to go full metal to the pedal, but didn't work out. So she took out Aaliyah with the moonsault. So that means Io Shirai joins Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, and Tegan Knox the in the number one contenders ladder match that's going to take place soon. So that means there were two available spots left, but there was another one later on of the day. So we'll get to that. Now, there was this little video of a wrestler who was like giving this look like, I recognize that face. I seen him. I mentioned him before on two occasions on both NWA shows, um, NWA 70, and of course, pop up event. It was Samuel Shaw. I recognize his face, but I did learn he did sign with WWE. But the question is, as always, when will he show up in NXT? It looks like he is going to be there. But the the next question that I think people should be asking, what do we call him now? It's not going to be Samuel Shaw. I mean, I know that we've seen that with Damian Priest, who originally was known as Punishment Martinez. Um, who else can I think of? There was Humberto Carrillo when he was known as El Ninja. No, Ultimo Ninja. That's what he called himself. So we can go on with those names. So it's still unclear what he calls himself now. Then we see Keith Lee coming out and explaining what happened. Now, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, he was facing Cameron Grimes, but someone attacked him from behind, and that person was Damian Priest. Now, here comes Dijakovic trying to give him the helping hand, but the initial thought that Lee thought in his mind, he thought it was Dijakovic that whacked him with in the back, but in reality, that was Priest. So Keith was willing to give Dijakovic an apology because that's interesting psychology right there, because there's always the assumption what happened when you didn't see who attacked him from behind. You wake up and you think it was this person, but it wasn't. So Dijakovic didn't need his apology, but he felt that that belt was stolen from him in any way possible, and Lee had no problem trying to face him. But there is one more person who felt he needed that title for more recognition. That person was the same man that whacked Both Dijakovic and Lee with the lead pipe, with the whatever they call it, and that was Damien Priest. Now he said this is nothing personal. He felt that if he wins the title, he'll get more money, more girls, and more recognition. And it turned into a brawl the entire time because I think now between Dijakovic and Lee is now every man's for themselves, even though Lee and Dijakovic respect each other due to their big matches they have done over the time since they've been in NXT. So that's how it ends. Then we go to the celebration of Adam Cole, who is now officially considered the longest reigning NXT champion. He's happy, but there is one person that's standing in his way from his total greatness, as I like to call it, is the Dream himself, Velveteen Dream. So he feels Velveteen Dream has showed him nothing that will make him to, how do I say this, give him a title shot. But he did stated he's sending Fish to take him out. So that's what Cole is, but he's happy. He beats Finn Balor's longest reigning, and we don't know how long he will be champion, but we'll see from there. Then we have a tag team match between Orly Lorcan and Danny Burch versus Shane Thorne and Breen and Vic. Now this is an interesting match. We had the Brits versus the Aussies. Now I think this was a good match because I look at Lorcan and Burch. They have more experience as veterans, but now they're getting momentum as a tag team. But I'll skip ahead on this one. Lorcan and Birch won this one. I was pretty much happy how that one. I do see them with full potential. Don't get me wrong. Then we go with the qualifying match for the number one contenders ladder match. This one was between Candice LeRae and Kayden Carter. This was a good match because we do know these two women want to be part of it, and I enjoyed it. It was a good match, some good moves from both sides. Um, but I'll skip ahead right now. Candice won, so that means she's the fifth participant joining um, Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, Tegan Knox, and Io Shirai. So there is one, and now her one more spot was available. Then we see a match between Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. Now this was like a match where Roderick Strong is willing to bring redemption to the Undisputed Era ever since the Broserweights beat Fish and Riley for the title. It was a good match in certain ways, but I'm gonna skip ahead. Matt Riddle won, but the biggest part that happened post match, he got a beatdown from two assailants, like big guys. I don't think they're Samoans. To me, they look more like somewhere like Arabic to Hindu. That's my assumption. But here comes this guy named Malcolm Devin or Pevins or whatever last name is, saying that these guys are the future of the NXT tag team division. I do know that now I think the Broserweights are have a big targets on their back. I mean, you got the Undisputed Era that would do anything to get their titles back. You got the grizzled young veterans, and now these guys. They never mentioned who the hell are these guys, which was strange. They normally would do that, but they never did. Now they did mention now for matches they're going to take place next week. So it's going to be Velveteen Dream versus Bobby Fish. And next match, this one is called a Second Chance Gauntlet match. Now these are women who either lost during the qualifying match for the number one contendership, contenders ladder match, or they never, or they missed it because of certain circumstances. Now here are the participants. They've been announced. We have Xia Li, Donna Bizarro, Dakota Kai, Aaliyah, Kayden Carter, and Shotzi Blackheart. Now, I do see a prediction on this one. Now, I'll tell you who I think it's going to win, but there's one that's going to end with a rivalry. It's going to go with Xia Li taking out Aaliyah because, like I said, Xyla Lee took out Aaliyah with a kick to the nose, making her broken, and Aaliyah tried to. I think it was her who attacked her to make sure she didn't win the qualifying round. So they're going to go with a rivalry between the two. So that's one of my predictions is going to happen. Now, for the winner, there's only one person I can think of that could win, and I don't know how you guys would feel. The person I see that could win it is Dakota Kai. If y'all recall, this is before Shayna Baszler lost her title. She did state it. She wants to come and get an opportunity to become champion, and Shayna Baszler's not there. Not was not going to let that happen. But now she's not champion, so that's my prediction that's going to happen. And also, it's been announced the NXT North American Championship with our current champion Keith Lee is going to defend it in a triple threat match between Dijakovic and Damian Priest. So this is going to be one of those heavy hitter matches. That's what I predict. So if you guys predict other things on these matches, I cannot predict Velveteen Dream or Fish right now because I can't think of any scenario. But if you guys do, leave a message. I will leave a comment. I will love to hear your guys' that. Now the next thing we see is the address by Triple H. Now Triple H has had it with this rivalry between Ciampa and Gargano that has been escalated far enough. So he invited them both under one condition: don't touch each other. And they were willing to oblige to Triple H. Now, Triple H demand is simple. He did state it. He wants this to end once and for all. They were planning, Triple H was thinking about putting this in a WrestleMania event because that seems logical or common sense, however you want to see it. But Gargano and Ciampa felt we don't need a crowd, we can do it. So Triple H suggested, let me find a place. I'll just have a ring and a ref and a camera. And whoever wins, wins. But he also made another stipulation or not an ultimatum. He said, once it's over, he doesn't care who wins. It's over. It's done. But if it continues, he has no problem removing them both. And of course, whoever's the face of NXT, either is Ciampa or Gargano, they can do it without them. So that's an agreement. And it ended with an unusual video with a clock tower and some message. But I did saw the person who was there, and I think you guys know who that person is. It's been already announced he was already signed by WWE, and my initial assumption is, of course, is Killer Cross. Now, I'm not sure if he's still going to be able to use the name because, like I said, we have seen wrestlers who, wherever they came from, they had to change their name. Now, I'm not sure if he's still going to be using. Now, the reason I do believe is Killer Cross, he has one thing that he says: tick tock. So that's the clue right there. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm assuming it's going to be soon. So that is it right now with NXT. So let's go with some news update. So we're here for the news update. So let's start with news that came in with WWE. As you now been heard now, Roman Reigns has been pulled from WrestleMania 36. Now, the reason behind that is because of the situation with the COVID-19 and all this. Now, there is speculation that they are thinking about replacing him, who's going to face Goldberg for the Universal title. And that person that's been considered is Braun Strowman. Now, this is a little unusual because here's the way I see it. You guys can agree with me. there is no story buildup between the two. That's the same thing we had with Kenny Omega and Pac when um, Moxley was pulled from the All Out event because of the staph infection he obtained. And I think that's going to be a problem. So I don't know if that's going to be the case, but we just got to wait and see where they're going to go with it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of you are saying, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but of course, there were times we wanted to see Braun Strowman be champion, and it never happened. But let's just hope and see what happens. Now, the next news that's related to WWE are a WWE superstar is now having his own Netflix show. Well, it's the Big Show. Yeah, Big Show is gonna be in a Netflix like a sitcom show. It's pretty interesting. It's called The Big Show Show. I know it's kind of weird, but that will be on Netflix on April 6th. I'm excited. I gotta see it. I love watching stuff on Netflix. Now, the next thing and the last thing I'm going to talk the news update is MLW. It appears that these guys have made a TV deal down in Poland, which is great news. Now they're expanding out into Europe. Now, the programming, it's been said they're going to be on Fight Club, and they are going to throw in some of the original content. I think they want fans to catch up, and it'll be great because if this goes to Poland, that it could spread throughout Europe. So I'm excited. I'm happy for these guys where they're gonna go because I love MLW what they have done, and I hope they do some European shows because I know some of you would probably if you guys ever make trips and they go there, it'll be fun. So that is it for today on this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this Wednesday Night War. You can leave a comment down below, and I'll give you guys give me some feedbacks if you guys have certain things that you want to talk that you want to mention that I might have missed or something you agree in of what I talked about. Uh, like I said, leave a comment. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Stay safe. Wash your hands and have a nice day. Bang.